Counsel has asked me to read out a statement on his behalf. He's not going to be answering any questions, and we would ask you, once the statement is read, to respect his privacy and that of his family. I'd like to start by expressing my sympathy to all of those who were affected by the terrible crash on the 4th of November 2011. I've been through an appalling experience over the last 2 years, yet I recognise my misfortune is as nothing with that of those bereaved and injured as a result of that accident. Sitting in the dock over the last few days, I have been struck by the quiet dignity of the families of those affected by the crash as they listened with me to the evidence as it unfolded in court. I would like to thank the very many people who supported me over the past 2 years, in particular my fiancée, my family, and the many friends and strangers who have given their support. I would particularly like to thank my legal team, barristers Adrian Derbyshire QC, Simon Antrobus, Gavin Rees and Mamata Dutta from RPC, who stood by my side throughout. They have been truly excellent. I'm obviously hugely relieved that this prosecution of me is now at an end. I would, however, like to say something about my experience of this case. In the summer of 2011, I was asked to conduct a firework display at Taunton Rugby Club, where successful displays had been conducted before. I agreed to do so. Before a final decision to go ahead with the display was taken, the Highways Agency, the Taunton Deane Borough Council and Avon and Somerset Constabulary were consulted. All were informed of the fact and nature of the display. All knew the site from which the fireworks were to be launched. No objection of any kind was raised. As matters transpired, Taunton Deane Borough Council and Avon and Somerset Police were to be the agencies which prosecuted me in respect of that same display. The display was carried out without incident. It was a very foggy night, and the fireworks produced some smoke, which would have mingled with the fog. However, I saw nothing to cause me to believe that any fireworks smoke would cause a hazard, and I do not believe that it did so. As the judge noted in his ruling, the prosecution case was founded on a criticism of me for failing to take a step which had never been taken before. It is perhaps relevant to note that there were around 1,000 people at the display, including serving police and fire officers. Not a single one of those people raised any concern at the time about smoke or fog, whether during or after the display. Firework displays have taken place in this country for centuries. The chemical composition of fireworks has not changed for hundreds of years. All fireworks produce smoke. However, nowhere in any training or guidance is it suggested that fireworks smoke presents an actual or potential danger of any kind. The current authoritative guidance from the HSE contains no reference to any risk posed by fireworks smoke, whether on its own or in combination with fog. The same applies to guidance produced by other official bodies, and indeed the current guidance provided by the Taunton Deane Borough Council. The prosecution experts spent 2 years investigating the possible causes of the crash, including the interaction between fireworks smoke and fog. They were unable to find a single example of a case in which the fireworks smoke had previously been shown to pose a danger. The prosecution experts considered extensive meteorological evidence, including satellite and local imagery and data, hundreds of statements from witnesses, photographs and video recordings, as well as groundbreaking research into the potential effect on visibility of the chemical reactions of fireworks smoke and fog. On the basis of all that material, the conclusion of the principal prosecution witness was only that the probability of any link between the display and the crash was weak to moderate. As Mr. Justice Simon told the jury this morning, the prosecution case was based upon hindsight and consequence rather than foresight and risk. Prosecution experts concluded that given the high level of general atmospheric pollution on that evening, as well as the weather conditions and the geography of the Tone Valley at the point that it is crossed by the motorway, the loss of visibility experienced by motorways may have been the result of intense, naturally occurring fog, quite unrelated to the rugby club display. The prosecution case against me was based on the suggestion that I should have recognised a risk of something occurring which has never been shown to have happened before, which probably did not happen, and the risk of which was not recognised by anybody else. The judge noted when he ruled that there was no case to answer, the prosecution case was heavily weighted with hindsight. As many people will be aware, the Assistant Chief Constable of Avon and Somerset Constabulary, Mr. Bangham, appeared on national television less than 48 hours after the crash to advance the police belief that smoke from the display had caused the crash. Hours before that pronouncement was made, offers from Avon and Somerset Police had unlawfully obtained a warrant to search my house, as the judge found during the trial. The unlawful search of my home took place despite the fact that I had previously expressly confirmed my willingness to cooperate with this inquiry in any way. The current proceedings were brought jointly by Avon and Somerset Constabulary and Taunton and Deane Borough Council. Prior to the proceedings being brought, those representing me wrote to Taunton and Deane Borough Council, highlighting the obvious flaws in the case. Those concerns were simply ignored. Again, in August of this year, those representing me set out in court documents the very issues which caused the case to come to a halt today. Nevertheless, the prosecution continued. I'm obviously extremely relieved today that I've been cleared of any blame for this terrible crash. So whilst I'm very relieved that more than 2 years later my ordeal is over, I continue to feel that my prosecution was motivated by a desire to find someone to blame for this terrible accident simply for the sake of doing so. Thank you.
Geoffrey, can I ask one question, which is just how stressful has it been over the last 2 years? That's all I wanted to ask.